100-year-old man is taking his last breaths. Beside him, another man with a long white beard waits for the moment he dies. The room is almost dark, lit only by a single candle. As soon as the old man passes, the white-bearded man cuts open the body, removes the organs, and begins writing 30 pages of notes in reverse handwriting. The man who just died was Leonardo da Vinci, one of history's most cursed geniuses, a mind so far ahead that even Newton, Einstein, and Tesla feel like spectators clapping from the sidelines. Leonardo didn't just master one or two fields. He cracked codes across entire worlds. Secrets that scientists today still struggle to understand. He wrote about the blueprint of God's design, the location of the soul in the body, the formula for beauty, the physics of flight, weapons capable of destroying entire civilizations. He drew every organ, every vessel, every nerve with stunning detail. He even predicted the date of his own death, and he locked all of this knowledge inside his personal notebooks, hidden from the world. 13,000 pages. Written backwards, 500 years old. These were not just notebooks. They were the brain of a cursed genius, captured on paper. 60 years after Leonardo's death, in 1580, an Italian artist named Pompeo Leone bought a stack of his papers for next to nothing. When he opened them, he froze. Every single page was written from right to left. You needed a mirror just to read it. The drawings showed human organs as if someone had peeled a body layer by layer. They were dangerous weapons that could destroy empires. Technologies for centuries ahead of their time. Helicopters, gliders, mechanical robots, and early versions of machine guns. Strange prophecies, mathematical formulas written in a language no one could understand. Some pages even had dried blood marks on them, as if someone had touched rotting flesh and then just kept writing. Leone tried to organize the pages, creating 2 large volumes, the Codex Atlanticus for technical work, and the Codex Arundel for anatomical and philosophical notes. But in his attempt to make sense of it all, he mixed up the dates, topics, and sequences. Leonardo's original order was lost forever. After Leone died, his family sold the volumes off in pieces. Da Vinci's life's work was fragmented, scattered across Italy, Spain, England, and France. 300 years later, in the 1800s, Renaissance scholars began studying these mysterious books, and they found some very strange patterns. First, the anatomical drawings contained notes that went directly against the teachings of the Church. There were detailed drawings of unborn babies inside the womb, of beating hearts, and of blood circulating through the body. All of this was forbidden knowledge. Second, many of the weapon designs were deliberately incorrect. The gears on his tank design were reversed. The mechanisms for his giant crossbows were flawed. It was almost as if he was hiding something, making sure no one could actually build them. And third, hundreds of his drawings were simply unfinished. Pages had those mysterious dried bloodstains. Scholars started to wonder if Leonardo died earlier than he expected, leaving his life's work incomplete. This led to a fascinating theory. Leonardo da Vinci wrote in secret codes to protect himself, because if he hadn't, the Church would have killed him. In 16th century Italy, the Church held absolute power. If you said just one thing that challenged the Bible, you could face trial, torture, and even death. In 1600, Giordano Bruno was burned alive just for proposing that the sun was the center of our solar system. In 1633, Galileo was imprisoned for the same idea, and Leonardo himself was declared a heretic by 1513. He knew that his discoveries about the human body, the motion of the earth, and the development of an embryo would get him executed. So, he wrote in code. Reverse handwriting, hidden messages, obscure diagrams. By the 1900s, books like Decoding Da Vinci and The Hidden Messages become but they only revealed a small part of the truth. The full story was far more interesting. Leonardo wasn't just the genius of a century. He was the kind of mind that appears once in 10,000 years. Yet at the end of his life, he called himself a failure. So what secrets were really hidden inside his notebooks? What was the real meaning behind all these strange patterns? In 1938, Historiennamid, Ludwig Heidenreich published a book that finally started to reveal the truth about Leonardo's hidden life. Leonardo was born in 1452 in the small village of Vinci, Italy. He was the illegitimate child of an upper-class father and a peasant mother. Because he had no legal surname, he was simply given the name Leonardo, and the village gave him the rest. Da Vinci meaning from Vinci. Back then, illegitimate children were often called devil's children. And Leonardo had another social curse. He was left-handed, which the church saw as a sign of evil. He wasn't allowed to go to school. He had no rights to own land or inherit anything. His father abandoned him. His mother remarried and left him behind. Leonardo grew up paying for a sin he never committed. Children like this, Dante Just, grow up, they sharpen themselves. And Leonardo sharpened his eyes. He didn't learn letters from a book. He learned to see. Observation became his language. Patterns became his alphabet. He drew the delicate strands of plants, the rough textures of rocks, the tiny microstructures of a blade of grass. People laughed at him, but he wasn't just looking at the surface. He was looking inside reality itself. At just 12 years old, Leonardo noticed a pattern in trees. The thickness of a tree trunk is equal to the combined thickness of all its branches, and each branch is equal to the thickness of its twigs. This became known as Leonardo's rule, a mathematical principle of conservation of flow. It's the same rule that applies to our blood vessels, to city traffic, and even to internet networks. He observed mountains and realized that distant objects appear more blue and blurry. This became known as atmospheric perspective, a technique that is now a foundation of modern landscape painting. Where other people saw running horses or leaping cats, Leonardo saw tendon tension, the distribution of force, and rotational symmetry. He was studying physics and biology before these sciences even had names. At 14, he became an apprentice in the workshop of the famous artist Verrocchio. He cleaned floors, washed clothes, cooked, and only occasionally got to touch paint. But Verrocchio noticed something odd about his apprentice. Leonardo rarely finished anything. Sketches, models, paintings, everything seemed to stop halfway through. One day, Leonardo was asked to paint an angel in Verrocchio's famous work, The Baptism of Christ. The depth, the realism, and the emotion in that single angel were so powerful that Verrocchio is said to have quit painting forever. Leonardo was using science to breathe life into art. But then came the night of 1476. Someone accused Leonardo of having a relationship with a 17-year-old boy, a crime that carried the penalty of torture and death. He only survived because the son of another noble family was also involved, but the scandal ruined his reputation. Society looked at him with disgust. That pain burned him, and from that fire, the Leonardo the world remembers was born. He locked himself away in his home and created a new companion. His notebooks. After years of quiet study, in 1489, he began smuggling corpses to dissect them in secret. He sketched the human skull as if he were using an MRI machine, centuries before it was invented. He drew the ventricles of the brain, the very place where ancient philosophers believed the soul lived. He studied the geometry of beauty, the symmetry of the face, the proportions of the body. He developed the painting technique of sfumato, where edges dissolve smoothly into one another instead of forming hard lines, creating a sense of mystery and depth. By the late 1480s, Leonardo felt trapped in Florence. He painted the portrait of Ginevra de' Benci, the first portrait in Western art that captured deep, internal thought instead of just simple beauty. Then, something shifted. His notebooks suddenly filled with weapons, tanks, giant crossbows, and terrifying siege machines. Historians have always seen a conflict in him. Leonardo was known as a peaceful man who would buy caged birds just to set them free. Yet here he was, designing machines for war. Was he a hero or a villain? How did Leonardo resolve the war inside himself? How did he make groundbreaking discoveries in 20 different fields all at once? Why did he hide his notebooks from the world? And why, after all of that, did he call his life a failure? We'll explore all of that in the next episode. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it.